Good morning, this is Kelly Valentine. Today is Friday, June 8th, and I'm going to go over my trade review process. So when I'm trading, I take screenshots. I take a screenshot in the beginning, and I usually take a follow-up screenshot. I don't typically need to refer back to the beginning one if I have the follow-up one, but in the event that I leave my computer or something and the trade is not closed out yet, then at least I have that I can go back on. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pull those up, and I will look at them, and I usually do this the day that they occur, so I can, during the trading session actually, so I can see what went wrong or what went right. This particular trade right here was a trade where I gained 17 pips. It was a British pound Japanese yen trade, and as you can see, the market was in consolidation right here. It started to go into a downtrend. I entered into the trade on this candlestick right here, and I had set my take profit at this candlestick right here. And then I like to be able to have my trade details down here so I can refer to everything. So if I need to transfer this over into like a Paint applications or something and mark it up, then I can do that if I need to. But this is just a breakout of support trade. Pretty simple. It worked out well. I followed my my rules in my trading plan. My RSI was 36 when I entered into the trade. It was a downtrend that was occurring. I waited until this candlestick closed below the level of support, and I entered during this candlestick, so I waited for that second candlestick to start forming. I had a 1-to-1 ratio, so on 17 pips, I sometimes usually would do a 1-to-2 ratio, but I gave the trade plenty of room to breathe, so it worked out well. And then I have another trade that I would like to look at that is where I lost some pips. So this is the British pound USD trade that I had entered. And I had entered because there was this bearish sentiment right here. This had just barely closed below this Fibonacci line right here. So then when this candlestick started to form, I entered into a sell position. And then after some time had passed, this little long-legged doji had started to appear, and the market started to reverse. I wanted to exit out of the trade, but I did not. I waited to see what would happen, and sure enough, the market did reverse, and it hit my stop loss right here. So everything that I had, when I entered into the trade, I had waited for my confirmation. My RSI was 37. It was a continued downward trend. I feel like this candlestick here was a full-bodied candlestick. So I guess my review on this trade was that maybe I should have followed my instincts and exited the trade manually when this long-legged doji appeared, and then when this candlestick started to form, because at that point I would have not have lost anything. I would have gained just a couple of pips instead of it actually hitting my stop loss and me losing out just totally completely. So those are the two trades that I'd like to wanted to review for this video. And then I also, at the end of the week, what I do is I will look at my FX book. I want to utilize the tools on my FX book more. So I am just getting like used to some of the things that are available here. So I'll look at everything to see, you know, like what everything is. It'll show you like today, this week, this month, and this year. And then I'll go down and I'll look at this information here. And then I will also look at the history here, because one of the things that I want to do is I want to start entering goals into, and I know you can upload screenshots in here, so that is something that I'm probably going to start doing, is entering the screenshots into each trade so then I can go back and look at it. Even though I label my screenshots pretty well, I would like to have it tied in my FX book so I can easily access it. So that's something that I'm probably going to start doing. So I do like to look at the my FX book and see there's questions that I ask myself during the trade review process. And some of those questions are like, when I'm looking at FX book, I try to look at my losses and my wins. Do they occur at a certain time during the day? Is there something, do I notice anything that sticks out that is consistent, good or bad? Those are things that I would like to be able to point out a little bit quicker. It takes me some time to look at that now, just because I'm just not familiar with utilizing all the tools on my FX book, so that's something I would like to put a little bit more time into. When I'm looking at my screenshots, things that I ask myself when I'm looking back on the trade as I entered, because I've caught myself on some things like this before. What do the candlesticks look like? Sometimes I get so caught up in just seeing movement and stuff that I forget to look at some of the trades, because I had entered into some trades sometimes where they were dojis and they just ended up reversing or not being any movement at all, or ended up going into consolidation. So those are things that I look at. In this particular trade right here, right before this volume of candlestick, there's a doji right there, which will tell you that the market is being a little indecisive. So then it just gained a little bit of momentum and then reversed. So, you know, hindsight's always 20/20, but I do try to ask myself them questions. I also ask myself if I've moved my take profit or stop loss, because I have done that before. I had rules set in place to do that. So that's something that I ask myself. And then another thing, which was a problem for me in the past, maybe not quite so much anymore, is did I allow enough breathing room for the trade to occur? So with me setting the risk ratio up, and I have a minimum of 7 pips that I must have it for my stop loss, which I usually don't even do that little. I prefer 10. Then I've been improving on that quite a bit. So, but that is still a question that I still ask myself. But then once again, the biggest question that I ask myself is, what are the candlesticks telling me? Because I found that sometimes I kind of overlook the candlesticks, which is one of the most important things. So I've been reminding myself of that. And that is my trade review process as far as my current trades goes. I do have in my trading plan that I will back test my pairs on the weekend if there's something that I'm seeing that is not congruent with like my trading plan, or something. If I see something that is consistently losing, that I will go on the weekends when the market is closed, that I'll go back test those pairs, which means I'll go to that time in the chart and I'll look at it again to see what occurred or what could I have done. And that's helpful. Backtesting is really helpful, especially if I would not happen to get a screenshot, because there are some trades where I don't always get a follow-up screenshot on. So that's something I can always utilize. And if I decide to change anything in my strategies from my trading plan, I do require myself to go back and backtest that strategy change on those pairs during the times that I am in the market. And the same goes for if I would develop a new trading strategy. I require for myself to backtest it to make sure that that strategy would work on my pairs during the times that I'm actually trading. That is my trade review process. Thank you.